Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.
The Agile brand.
Welcome to the B2B Agility Podcast, where we look at the factors that drive success in B2B marketing, with a focus on the people, processes, data, and platforms that make B2B brands stand out and thrive in a competitive marketplace. I'm your host, Greg Kihlstrom, advising Fortune 1000 brands on MarTech, marketing operations, and CX, best-selling author and speaker. Before we get started, I wanted to let you know that my latest book, Priority is Action: 7 Principles for Better Strategies, Decisions, and Outcomes, is now available. In it, I give ideas and insights for leaders and teams that need to make meaningful progress on their priorities. After all, our priorities are what we do, not what we say we'd like to do. You can find Priority is Action on Amazon or learn more on my website, gregkihlstrom.com. Now let's get on to the show. We're here at Xactly Upside, the Xactly user conference here in San Francisco. We've seen some amazing product announcements, heard from customers, and had a chance to interact and learn from an amazing user community. Today we're going to talk about opportunities and challenges of today's Chief Revenue Officer and some of the ways that artificial intelligence can benefit the sales process. To help me discuss these topics, I'd like to welcome Arnab Mishra, CEO, and Sam Zayed, Chief Revenue Officer at Xactly. Arnab and Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So Arnab, why don't we start with you? Why don't you give a little background on yourself and your role as CEO at Xactly?
Yeah, so I've been at Xactly for about 7 years now. I joined the business back in 2017, and for a lot of the time was running our products area, so product management and really thinking about innovation. I then became the COO for a period of time before taking the CEO role. Prior to Xactly, I've got 20 plus years in enterprise software, particularly in SaaS, in a variety of different domains, and so kind of live and breathe how technology can help enterprises operate more effectively.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've been in technology and enterprise software for almost 30 years, a little bit more than you, Arnab. And so I'm responsible for the sales and customer success teams at Xactly. And the single most important thing we do is create and keep customers. And so if you think about that very simple mission statement, that's what the team and our go-to-market's all focused on. And it's really great to be here. The company, this event, our customers, it's an incredible opportunity, and the market's really robust. So I look forward to this conversation and getting into it more.
Great, wonderful. Yeah, so we'll dive right in here, and we're gonna talk about some of the announcements specifically in a few minutes. But first, I wanted to just get, since I have some experts in the room here, so get some insights on trends that you're seeing in the market. So I wanted to start with just overall, what are companies taking for granted about compensation and forecasting? And do you think that there's a mindset shift, or what needs to change to kind of overcome some of these things?
Yeah, I mean, taken for granted. I'll start with the forecasting piece, maybe specifically, because that's something that we've heard customers and partners here at the conference talk a lot about, and that's they take for granted the fact that forecasting is only about forecast accuracy, is calling a number and being accurate about it, when it's a lot more than that. It upstream and downstream from what you do in forecasting, there's so much value and insights that are gained outside of forecast accuracy, which is table stakes, really. And so when you think about the best next action for an opportunity or for an account, if you think about data quality and the fidelity of the data that's coming in and out of forecasting, these are massive opportunities to improve, the overall operation and ultimately the forecast accuracy. But things like individual sales rep calls to action, skills, capabilities, and competencies that an individual sales rep would need to work on and improve as a result of the insights that come out of forecasting. These are the kinds of things and the value that we see our customers realizing, and something that I think is overlooked at times from the forecasting perspective. Can we talk about the
Yeah.
incent piece? Maybe?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think, in general, what we spend a lot of time doing is helping customers widen the aperture of the problem they're trying to solve. I think, as Sam mentioned, in forecasting, they tend to get really focused on the accuracy of the forecast, when the reality is that is the outcome of a bunch of upstream stuff you have to get right in order to, and that all is hygiene and good muscle memory for the organization. I think similarly with incentives, I think, we'll talk to customers who are maybe just starting their journey around incentives, and they get really focused on the calculation. Like, how do I just calculate this stuff and get my reps paid? When the reality is, like, of course you have to do that. We've been doing it for 20 years. That is a bit of sort of like, the base case of what you need to get done. But really the value of incentives is in driving the right behaviors with your sales reps and incentivizing them to do the things that you need, and then connecting the day-to-day activities of the reps with the corporate strategy and the corporate plan, right? And I think when you think about the problem space from that broader aperture, I think the thing that people start to understand is like, wow, incentives is actually hypercritical to me turning a strategy into reality and actually executing on our go-to-market. And I think that's what we help our customers sort of understand. And when we can put it in that broader context, it gives us a lot of opportunities to help our customers day to day.
Yeah, it makes sense. What about from a trends perspective, the relationship between sales and marketing? What do you see changing there?
Well, it's always been, like I like to say, the strongest and most powerful 1-2 punch in business. When sales and marketing are working hand in hand and seamlessly as one organization, one team, one budget, I mean, it's an incredible outcome when you can get that to happen. And I mean, front and center in all that is really data, and data in terms of how you set KPIs, how you set goals, both activity and outcome levels. And so ensuring that you have a data set that is trusted and is reliable so that you can make data-driven decisions and you can call the ball and you can understand where there's hot spots and cold spots or where you think the opportunities are. And so I think first it starts with the data, and second is sort of the old saying that culture trumps strategy, is making sure that you have leadership and a culture between sales and marketing that are open to a learning about what's working and not working and new ideas, not being territorial or siloed in terms of operating, but truly partnering. And when that happens, you have the right set of data and targets and metrics that are trusted and the right culture and operating rhythm around sales and marketing, great things happen.
And I mean, wouldn't you say it's also kind of the inverse of, when you have good data and a single source of truth, then it's easier to be aligned versus like sales has an anecdote they use and marketing has an anecdote, and
Sure.
So data can kind of be that equalizer, so to speak.
Yeah, that's right. And so like at Xactly, for example, we also partner with finance. And so we have a finance, sales, and marketing where we create a plan, we set a set of targets. And that plan and targets is something that we work towards every week, day in and day out, and use a data-driven approach to adjust in order to achieve the targets. And in that way, we're one team looking at it in the same meeting at the same time, and it really creates momentum, the kind of momentum that yields the kind of outcomes that sales and marketing leaders are looking for.
Yeah. And so what about the end customer? There's new channels that pop up and other things like that, but what about customer behavior? What's changing there that the CROs and the sales teams need to understand?
I mean, I think from our perspective, the world, obviously the last several years have been relatively challenging in the world, right? A lot has been thrown at companies and teams to navigate and to get through, and so what we're finding from a behavior perspective is that companies are recognizing that you have to be highly rigorous in how you operate your business to navigate these headwinds. And so, I think, every sales organization, and I agree with this perspective, there's a level of artistry and a level of science in running a go-to-market organization. And I think, we're probably in an age today where the science piece is all the more important, because it really is finding opportunities in a tough macroeconomic environment or in a world that's getting disrupted by exogenous things that are happening. And the only way you can do that is by looking at the data and saying, well, where are these opportunities? Where are we, where can we be the most successful? And how do we apply resources against those opportunities? And so I think when we talk to CROs, I think we're much more now having conversations where they're trying to figure out, how do I surface this information that I know we have in our enterprise at these key moments where I need to make critical decisions to guide the business forward? And that's definitely been an evolution over the last several years.
I mean, just to piggyback on that is, Gen AI is a massive opportunity, obviously, but how to take advantage, when and where to take advantage of Gen AI is something I think customers are struggling with. And so the behavior is, on the one hand, looking for a silver bullet. Oh, Gen AI can solve this problem, a sales productivity problem, for example, when the real problem is underlying. And so one of the things that maybe we'll talk more about is some of the innovation we've announced today and this week at the conference around our Xactly Copilot technology that is purpose built for a specific use case within a specific application and process, not trying to be all things to all people or some sort of horizontal sort of Gen AI service, but really contextual in how it can solve the problems. I think those are the kinds of solutions that Xactly are going to market with to help address the kinds of behavior that we see in the buyer community.
So, we're here at the Upside conference, plenty of announcements, and we're still in halfway through here, so more to come. But I wanted to start by talking about Xactly Plan Design and a little bit about what it is and who can benefit from it.
Yeah. So Plan Design is a new application that we're launching, and it effectively is an app that enables companies to rigorously pull together their comp plans using our vast amount of benchmarking data that we have. We're the only vendor in the marketplace that has that data, and then provide tools to the organization to model out different scenarios, to collaborate around those ideas. I mean, the reality with comp plan design in particular is that it is one of the few activities that really brings together a wide cross-section of people, right? So typically the executive team really wants to understand what's going into this comp plan design because they want to make sure it's tied to the corporate plan. They want to make sure compensation is a big part of any company's budget, so they want to make sure they're spending those dollars appropriately. Obviously the CRO cares about it. Obviously the CMO cares about it because they're trying to figure out, well, I'm going to generate a bunch of leads. Like, how is that going to actually, get prosecuted through the sales team? The finance leader cares about it. And so it's this area that is cross-functional, an activity that very few activities are. And what we realized is that all of our customers were struggling with it, right? There is no software in the marketplace that helps pull all of these workflows, all the attendant data, all of the different sort of iterations that happen into a single application. In general, you talk to most companies, the way they do this is a bunch of ad hoc meetings, a bunch of smart analysts, a bunch of spreadsheets, right? It is a unwieldy process. And so what we said is there's a real opportunity for us to add value in this area and to codify all of this in software, but then more importantly, bring our 20 years of empirical sales performance data that we've been collecting and use that data to inform some of these decisions that are going to be made, in addition to the historical data that we have for our customers. And so we're really excited about it. I've been talking about this with customers now for the last several months, and every time I talk about it, eyes light up, and it's sort of also along with a bunch of groans about how painful this process is. So we're really excited about kind of where we're taking this.
I mean, on top of that, it's a part of our intelligent revenue platform. So it's not an application that's been created in isolation. It's part of the overall platform strategy. So you can plan, design, manage, incent, and forecast all within the same platform. What does that mean from an end user perspective? It means within a single pane of glass. I can change applications, I can change process and use cases, in this case from plan or from incent or from forecasting, all within the same user interface. And that just adds productivity and delivers the kind of value that ongoing recurring value that customers are looking for.
Yeah, and just based on having a couple decades worth of data sitting behind that, to be able, so you can make intelligent decisions and your customers can do that. Yeah, if you could talk a little bit more about the overall platform, maybe, because again, plan design being just one part of it, like what are some of the other updates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have been for the last several years building a unified platform that has functionality across the spectrum of what we consider to be what we call our intelligent revenue lifecycle. Now, the real understanding that we've had in our insight is that in order to really maximize sales team performance, you have to do multiple things really well, right? You have to plan well for that team, territories, quota, capacity. You have to then design a great comp plan that sort of connects that sales plan to the reps and makes it real for them. You have to then incentivize them in the right way and manage that incentive process so reps are getting paid, accurately and on time. And then you have to be able to look at what's coming and forecast that and make sure the things that you're working on are actually tied back to the plan, right? The reality in most worlds is that all of that is done in silos and disparate technologies and a bunch of manual processes, but you have to get all these pieces right in order to really drive sales performance. And so the reason why we've gone to a platform approach is to stitch all this together. From an architectural perspective, the platform is built on a single data backbone. So all of the data that's in our systems across these applications are available to every application, which is super powerful, right? Imagine we do something simple that we call, or not simple, but we call it commission expense forecasting. So commission expense forecasting is an out-of-the-box piece of technology that we have, and what it does is it marries all of the intelligence we have in the commission system with all the intelligence we have in the forecasting system to tell reps, if you close this deal, given where you are in your comp plan, here's what you'll make on that deal. Right, and we'll show that to the rep at the individual deal level, which then, assuming the comp plan is correctly structured, it's going to drive them to focus on the deals that have the highest commissions, which should be the deals most aligned to the comp plan. And similarly, we can aggregate this up for the finance leader who's trying to forecast the P&L, and this is a big line item in their P&L, and they can say, oh, well, here's what my commission expense forecast is. And by the way, it's not a guess. It is literally looking at the deals that are in flight and the reps who are going to close those deals and what the comp plan says those reps are going to get paid. So things like that are powerful, unique functionality that we can provide because it's a platform unified across all these application areas that frankly you can't do in the absence of that. So we're very excited about that.
Yeah, that's great. And so we touched on or briefly mentioned AI. I want to dive into that now too, because that was another part of the announcements here at Upside. Generative AI capabilities, AI Copilot. So let's maybe first just take one step back as far as how should companies and in particular your customers be thinking about AI and its ability to augment the process?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think we are big believers in the power of generative AI, and I think we try to spend a lot of time separating the hype from the reality, right? I think when generative AI first really hit the scene now a year and a half ago, it was frankly, my personal view was that it was a little bit more hype than there was reality. I would say 18 months later, my view is changing because the innovations are happening so fast in this area. And so our guidance to customers is, this train has left the station, it is barreling down the tracks, and the reality is going to be that the winners in any vertical market are going to be the ones who are able to leverage this technology to their fullest, right? And so we definitely recommend to all of our customers that they don't wait and that they dive into this pool. And I think the reality, though, is that it's still new technology. There's still going to be a lot of experimentation, a lot of iteration. We're partnering with our customers to try to accelerate that level of iteration so we can go find those killer apps and the places where we think AI is going to be interesting. But we fundamentally believe that it's going to reshape the software landscape.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about AI Copilot?
Yeah. So a couple of things I think that are unique to us about AI Copilot. So one is, as I've mentioned, we've been collecting empirical sales performance data for 20 years. And the reason why we've been able to do that is two, I think, very prescient decisions that the company made at its founding. So one is that from a technical perspective, we have a normalized data model in our system, and which no other vendor in our space has, or maybe they're starting to have it now. And that normalized data model allows us to collect data in a uniform way across customers, which then allows us to anonymize and aggregate the data. So that's like one very unique thing we did. The other is, in our contracts with our customers, we put in a clause that said that we are happy to provide this benchmarking data back if a customer is willing to put their data into the pool. And when we first started doing this 20 years ago, our hope was frankly that 50% of our customers would opt into this. That number is greater than 90%.
Wow.
So if you think about the breadth of our customer base, the millions of sales reps that we help every day, it is a vast quantity of data. So from that perspective, if you look at generative AI, the winners in any generative AI category are not necessarily going to be the vendors that build the best LLM or the best models. It's going to be who has the data to train the models so they're effective in the real world. And in our space, we have the best data available, and so I think we are in a pole position in winning that model. So that's one very unique thing about us. The other thing is, from a roadmap perspective, we have taken this AI capability and we have viewed it as a integral part of the platform, right? So a lot of sort of AI features that are being delivered out there are being delivered as features in specific products. We've sort of said, no, what we actually want to do is have AI live at the platform layer and then be available as a service to all the applications we have. And frankly, over time, maybe even open it up as a service to third-party applications that want to leverage some of the models and the data set that we have. And so that piece, I think, is relatively unique in the world. And it's something that I think is allowing us to accelerate our rate of innovation, because now we can apply this AI across the different applications that we have.
So, to take maybe another step back here, those salespeople out there that, there's a lot of talk about AI, and to your point, there's been a lot of hype as well as a lot of real benefit from it. But there is some trepidation from people out there that are worried about AI replacing part of their job, all of their job, as the case may be. How do you recommend that an exec leader, CRO out there, talks with their team about this idea of AI augmenting versus replacing? And, again, there may be jobs replaced in some place somewhere, but personal opinion, I see it more as augmenting in this aspect. So, how do you recommend that a leader talks with their team about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely augmentation versus replacement, for sure, particularly in the enterprise software space, but kind of selling in general. But it's no different than all of the other productivity tools and technologies that the business world and the selling world has seen over the last 20 years plus. This is just another opportunity. I think if you look at it with the glass half full, not half empty, you have the right mindset to figure out, how do I take advantage of this incredibly powerful technology? And so, arguably, in most companies, the most expensive asset is a sales rep that is underperforming. And so if you can use Gen AI and focus that on how to improve the productivity at the margin of the sales and marketing investments and get a higher return, because individuals are spending more time on higher impactful activities, deflecting where they might need to deflect, for example, like in a support use case with Gen AI, then I think you have the right mindset to crawl, walk, run, and use Gen AI embrace it and use Gen AI as a tool that you can trust but verify that if it's deployed in a certain instance with a certain environment, that it can deliver on the sales rep productivity gains and improvement in win rates, conversion rates, velocity of opportunities, all of the other metrics before you roll it out and before you look for other use cases. I think for me, that's how I think about this Gen AI, as the same sort of context of all the other technologies that we've seen in business over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and I mean, to that point, with productivity gains, it's also people get to do what people like doing better more, right? As opposed to, less data entry, more of the other kinds of work, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you think about the day in the life of a sales rep. If you want to put yourself in that individual's shoes, how do you maximize, this is something I talk about a lot internally, how do you maximize the time of that seller to spend on the market, on the customer, the prospects, the partners, whatever that goes, and minimize the time that professional spending internally on administrative tasks, whatever those tasks are. And so Gen AI is a wonderful tool to be able to do that maximum minimum and make sure that you maximize the time that sellers are spending on the market. And if you do that, I think then really good things will happen in terms of improvement in productivity and conversion, win rates, velocity, all the metrics, common metrics that are used to measure sales teams.
Well, one last question here, just taking a step back, and was wondering if you could, for those CROs listening out there, those executives listening out there that are tasked with growing both sales and their sales organizations, as many are, What would your recommendation be for them in the months ahead?
I mean, for me, one of the North Stars for me and the pillars of sales rep productivity and all excellence around sales is never plateau. Never plateau in terms of your learning and your enablement, particularly with the technology like Gen AI that are here and now. If you plateau, if you think you know it all and you've got all the skills that you need and you don't need to learn and grow and continue to push yourself, then you're probably going to wind up on the wrong side of success. And so if you're a CRO or if you're a sales leader or a marketing leader or a commercial leader, find and develop a culture and find professionals that have a passion for enablement and not plateauing. And so that you can continue to get better and sharper and faster and be able to just present the most credible capability and sales experience you can at the point of sale. I think that would be my, my recommendation.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm 100% with Sam on this, and I think, there's a concept in Zen Buddhism called Shoshin that I've always resonated with, which is this idea of a beginner's mind. And I think we are in an age where it will reward people with the beginner's mind, even those people who have a lot of experience in different areas. And having a beginner's mind is basically looking at the world as a beginner, right? And that really implies, being humble and curious and asking questions, et cetera. And I think a lot of the world is changing so fast that, the things that we have learned and the context in which we have learned them are, likely not going to be as applicable moving forward. And so having that, curiosity and willingness to learn is going to be, very, very key, I think, for any role, but definitely for CROs.
Real quick, any highlights so far from, I know we've got some time left in the show, but any highlights so far?
I mean, for me, the biggest highlight has been the energy and the enthusiasm at the show. We actually, over the weekend, had to cut off registrations because the show is so oversubscribed that we were getting concerned about just like physical capacity to house the show. Yeah. So and I think in the morning sessions and the afternoon sessions this on the first day here, the energy has been amazing. There's so much enthusiasm, and I think focus on the problems that we are helping solve. That it's been great to see. I really feel like the on-site event is back, and that we'll be doing a lot more of these. And I'm just really happy for the ecosystem and the community that we're trying to help grow and catalyze.
Great. Well, again, I'd like to thank Arnab Mishra, CEO, and Sam Zayed, Chief Revenue Officer at Xactly, for joining the show. You can learn more about Arnab, Sam, and Xactly by following the links in the show notes. Thanks again for listening to the B2B Agility Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to subscribe and leave us a rating so that others can find the show more easily. You can access more episodes of the show at www.b2bagility.com. That's b2bagility.com. While you're there, check out my series of best-selling Agile brand guides covering a wide variety of marketing technology topics, or you can search for Greg Kihlstrom on Amazon. Until next time, stay focused and stay agile.
The Agile brand.
Say goodbye to your credit card rewards. Greedy corporate mega stores, led by Walmart and Target, are pushing for a law in Congress to take away your hard-earned cash back and travel points to line their pockets. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would enact harmful credit card routing mandates that would end credit card rewards as we know it. If you love your credit card rewards, tell your lawmakers, hands off my rewards. Tell them to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill.